to talk about City Town. In mid-August, here's what Sunblink said. We aim to have an initial release of City Town this year for non-arcade folks. We'll be making a formal announcement with all the important details in October. We are now in October. And this is the announcement. The TLDR, City Town DLC is now planned for next year, likely around Q2 2026, April to June. It will be a single paid release. So while you digest this, I will read the whole thing. Hello everyone. We'd like to share an important update on the status of City Town. This message includes information relevant to all platforms, so please read carefully. Recently, we began our City Town DLC closed beta with the goal of launching part 1 on Switch, PC and PS5 by the end of this year. However, feedback from the beta made it clear that we still have a significant amount of work to do in order to reach the level of quality this release and our players deserve. We always try to deliver the best experience possible. We'd like to integrate the feedback and our learnings from the Wildflower Wonderland and make City Town the best it can be, rather than rush it before it's ready. With this in mind, we've updated our roadmap. City Town DLC is now planned for next year, Q2 2026, and it will be a single paid release. Similar in structure to the Wildflower Wonderland. Pricing details will be shared closer to launch. So we don't know yet how much it will be, but very likely it would be the same price as Wildflower Wonderland or even lower because there's less things, but I don't think it could be more expensive than Wildflower Wonderland. For arcade players, the next major update, 2.11, will include substantial changes to City Town, featuring a complete redesigned map that improves gameplay flow, storytelling, and navigation. We're also reworking main storyline progression over the next few updates to remove most, if not all, of the Wait-A-Day style quest requirements, replacing them with gameplay and friendship-based requirements instead. This has been one of the most frequent pieces of feedback across all platforms, and we hope these changes will create a smoother, more engaging experience for everyone. For Switch, PS5 and PC players, our free update CU4 will be coming mid-December. CU4 includes new event content, a new flower, additional visitors and Gudetama, and many quality of life improvements and fixes. CU3 had everything from 0.7 and 0.8, and 0.9 was the Wildflower Wonderland DLC. So now CU4 will be everything from CU10 and CU11. So whatever you've seen teased in the CU10 update last time will be there, and the things that we will get in 2.11 that is not teased here will be also in there. And the additional visitors and Gudetama. So Gudetama might come in 2.11 because we did not have Gudetama there, and quality of life, we have more filters and things like that, and abilities to favorite things in the inventory now. So all of that will come for free for everybody in mid-December. Thank you again for your patience and understanding. Then Chelsea went on the Discord and answered a bunch of feedback in the City Town update discussion feedback thread, and I'm going to read a few of that and explain things, and at the end she has a very long post of summarizing everything that she heard about the feedback of people and how and what they will do with it. So I just want to jump in and say that we consider the full game to be what we launched on console with, culminating in the end of the Friendship Island storyline and the celebration you get with the spirit. Also, please note that fix more existing bugs and release new content faster are mutually exclusive. We do have a finite dev team and we do our best to split those resources between bug fixes and new content, but we can't do both faster. We're not going to communicate as much about upcoming DLC in the future to prevent this level of disappointment. Definitely a hard lesson to learn, as we really like transparency and everyone was constantly asking for updates and news, but unfortunately this was a clear case that transparency coming back to bite us as plans shifted. And that means less communication, because we tried to communicate things where we were very confident in them, but that still left room for error. That's interesting because I think they had this say in the past again. They said something and then people were mad and then they said, well, say less. And so I guess it's because people take it badly when they have things change that they don't want to communicate anymore. I totally understand them. If we only announced things when we're 100% confident in them, it basically means we can't announce until the builds are in review. And even then, we had issues with Flower Wonderland on Switch Europe when we did that. Jessie said, from a business perspective, keep in mind that it takes 2 to 3 years to develop a game and that we're in a time of unprecedented studio closures, layoffs, and cancellations. And then people mentioning that they actually pay the Apple Arcade subscription compared to the full price. Apple Arcade has 200 plus games, but we hear very frequently from our players that most people only pay our game and subscribed exclusively for a game. At the end of the day, I don't know how fruitful the platform comparisons are, and that probably isn't the point of the feedback thread. And then people were mad that it's a paid DLC. Kay said, with all due respect, confirming CityTown for other platforms before mentioning that they will be paid does not feel like a case of transparency. And Chelsea said, we just confirmed that all content will be available on other platforms eventually at launch. Amy said, it should have been clearly communicated from the start that it would be a paid DLC. And Chelsea said, we didn't know whether or not that will be paid at the start. No, we never said it would be free. It was never advertised in any of the main game marketing when it launched on other platforms. And also I'm very surprised that people think that CityTown would be free. They clearly said at the start that it will be free and paid updates. And in my head, and what I have talked about with Chelsea in one of the interview was that I told her, so the multiple events a year are going to be free updates and the bigger things like CityTown will be a paid DLC. And she said yes, something like that. And not exactly that because they did not know at the time what will be free or paid. But in my opinion, when we knew it will be on other platform with one fixed price and not a subscription like we pay now, I was even expecting that all the content updates every quarters would be paid. This was my opinion at the start because it makes no sense to make you pay once $40 and then give you free content for 20 years for free, I don't know, and we pay like $9 monthly. So I was like, okay, Christmas, obviously, things like that, you have to include it for free, kind of, but all the other new areas that you do, all the new content and updates and everything, it was logical for me that it would be paid. And this whole new island, whole new thing, of course it would be paid. So I'm really surprised that people think that they could get a live service game that has 0 microtransactions for just one base price and be updated forever for free. I don't know in which land you live, but this is not how it works. If you are mad about this, honestly, because if you want constant updates, you need to pay people to make constant updates. That's as simple as it. If people don't get the money, they cannot work on new things and they close the studio like tons of other studios at the moment. So honestly, sorry for this rant, but it's normal that big things are going to be paid, and I would have even felt that more things will have to be paid in this thing. Just look at Disney Dreamlight Valley. This is very similar in terms of this game. Also a big map, tons of characters, tons of quests, achievements, decorating, kind of exactly the same. It is paid. Every DLC is paid with different levels, very expensive, and there are things that are exclusive that you can never get if you don't pay the highest price for the DLC. And on top of that, they have premium currency that you have to pay for to get another set of items that you would never get without that. Okay, you can get a few inside of the game, but usually games are like free to play with premium currency and cosmetics and gachas and everything like that, microtransactions like Infinity Nikki or Genshin Impact and things like that. Or you pay one price and then when there's new content you pay for DLCs. But we could have been in the same situation as Disney Dreamlight Valley and it's absolutely not the case, and we should be really thankful that it's not the case. So obviously CityTown will have been paid and I'm really surprised that people are surprised by this. I'm going to go off of my soapbox and read the rest. People ask for still more communication and Chelsea said, unfortunately I think that this would lead to people making assumptions that that then disappointed them. For instance, the other people who assumed that this would be free. So in that case, leaning back towards less news and more sorry, no updates at this time, and just dealing with the folks frustrated by lack of updates announcement until we have 100% confident in them. And then Falloum said, I do presume that any DLC for non-Apple folks will be paid, right? And Chelsea said, we don't know that and don't want to commit to it. So apparently there's still a possibility that in the future there will be free DLCs. Okay. And then people still complain. And Chelsea said, expressing disappointment is totally valid and it's good for us to hear people's experience. Understanding it helps us know how to do better. And then a brief tangent. For Switch specifically, we are currently blocked on updating it until our Switch 2 work gets through the pipeline. That's why we haven't been able to address the flashing issue. A good news, Switch 2 is in review, but since we have no idea what the review timeline is, you know, I can't say anything about when it'll come out. And that's so interesting because so far they said we cannot say anything for Switch 2, and now because of that they have been forced to talk about that and why the update to Wildflower Wonderland box are not coming. It's because they're in the pipeline behind the Switch 2 push, which is a good thing and a bad thing for people who keep experiencing the bugs in the Wildflower Wonderland, but Sunblink cannot do anything because they cannot push this update on Switch. Only one thing can be in the review/approval pipeline at once. Switch 2 has been in the pipeline since before we had fixes for any of the Wildflower Wonderland issues. It has to get through before we can make any other updates. And no, we can't pull the Switch 2 update and start over with the fixes. Then Jeffudi said, my experience is that I wanted the Steam Platinum badge and I'm glad they're not paywalling achievements because I don't have a lot of money to spare. I'm a student. Chelsea, please keep it like that. Thank you. And Chelsea said, this is our goal. If we ever put paywalled achievements, call us on it. And Soup said, some of the stuff in Citydon are part of main game collection tabs, such as the Gudetama balloon. Locking things parts of the main game collection behind a paid DLC isn't okay. I won't go into the disappointment beyond that, but you guys need to change the collection items to a Citydon section like the Wildflower Wonderland to make it fair for those who don't buy the DLC. And Chelsea said this is changing. There's going to be an entangling of things like Gudetama to ensure that collections are separate and discrete. Back to Citydon. Back of the delay is our beta testers made it clear that Citydon felt lackluster in wake of Wildflower Wonderland, so additional development is now planned. And then Soup said, my friend told me how their friend got banned for posting critically after the announcement, and Chelsea said, we ban people who repeatedly violate our community guidelines and rules, but people are never banned for criticizing the game, only for behaving in a way that is hostile and derogatory, or for posting assumptions as fact even after repeated clarification. Hopefully, threads like this are a clear illustration of the fact that we want folks to be able to express criticism and for us to grow from it. Then Chelsea took the time to summarize all the feedback from people and address it separately in different topics. Here's what we've heard so far. People are disappointing that it's a paid DLC because some felt it was advertised or implied to be part of the main game. We were very cautious in all our Steam PC and PS5 marketing to talk and show only content available on Friendship Island. We very consciously never used images or descriptions that included Usahana or Citydon. While we didn't know for sure at the time if it would be free or paid, we wanted to leave the option open for either and try to be very cognizant that no one would buy the main game because, say, they saw Usahana on the Steam page. Then people are disappointing that it's a paid DLC because they feel the main game was already expensive. At the end of the day, we hope that people feel the main game was worth the price and that the DLC we release are worth their prices. We are releasing free content update as well at no addition cost for players and want to continue to have both free and paid additions to the game. Honestly, I keep seeing games that are really, I would not call them shovelware, but almost. Like really low effort, super tiny, like 20-hour game, 10-hour games that are $20. And for $40, you probably all have already hundreds of hours and they keep coming with new content that are free all the time. So the people that said that the game was expensive before playing it, I could understand that they did not understood the size of the game they were getting for that price. But yeah, even now look at other games that you pay like $70 or something. You never play as long as you play this game. So really, I do think that $40 for this game is a great price, and I've played many games, I paid many games. I know that it might be more expensive than cheap games that you want to play a lot of compared to other games, and compared to what you get, it's a no-brainer that it's a good value, honestly. If you played it, you know that. Feel free to actually disagree with me and have a conversation in my comments. I would be happy to hear about that, but I am very strongly on my opinions that this game deserves the price that it has. And I think that all the free updates, like I mentioned before, are really a good thing, and really nice from the dev to include all that for free. Then she said, people are disappointed by the delay, and so are we. We were very excited to bring City Town to folks this year, but the beta feedback made it clear that if we released this year, we would be releasing something below our quality bar. We'd rather wait and have players be disappointing by the delay than rush and have players disappointing by something they paid for. And that is very understandable, because once you release something that is not good, that's it. I feel that your game is done when people have a bad opinion of it. So I think it's always better to wait and have something of good quality than to rush. And you keep having new content anyways quarterly on all platforms. Then people are disappointed by the communication around the release. Yep, this one's on us. We were quite confident that we'll release City Town initially as part 1 this year, which is why we talked about it. That's interesting. Let's review the wording. We aim to have an initial release of City Town this year, and honestly, by initial release, for me, I did not read it as part 1, so I'm very surprised. Or does that mean that because, as you can see, there's like an area that is blocked with fog and the train and everything, and so that other part will be part 2, and that none of us on Apple Arcade even saw part 2, so that I'm very surprised by, actually. This contributed to additional disappointment, so we, and me specifically, are going to give less frequent updates or keep them to still working, nothing new to announce, and not provide as much transparency into our development, because at the end of the day, development is always going to have bumps and setbacks, and we don't want that to lead to continuous player disappointment. And then players are disappointed by the delay on top of lack of bug fixes. And this is clarified in some of the other feedback threads, but some of the existing Wildflower Wonderland issues can't be fixed, particularly on Switch, until our Switch 2 updates go through the pipeline. Since we don't know how long that will take, we haven't made any official announcement about Switch 2, when the Wildflower Wonderland patch will be available, or when the Wildflower Wonderland patch will be available, but we are going as fast as we are able. And additional details, any collections that may have City Town elements, like the Gudetamas, will be entangled and fully separated, so no one's completions will be at risk if they don't buy the DLC. So I know this will be a long video, but I just wanted to add more transparency to just this thing that everybody reposted and go really through everything that Chelsea has said on everything. And the thing to remember is that Sunblink realizes that everybody is upset, and you are totally valid to be upset, and they agree with this. So everybody is upset that we'll have to wait, maybe except me as a content creator, because I'll finally just have a break. But that's just me. On top of that, the fact that people complain so much when they feel that they've been do something because something has been announced is leading to less transparency, and that is very sad. Because I think that if people complain less about, but you told us that we'll get this, they will be, hey, we're hoping to get this, because they never said you will. I think they said we aim. So they will never said we will. Said we aim, and that changed. And that's the reality of everything. And I feel that Sunblink as a developer, especially through Chelsea, has been able to talk a lot about what is happening behind the scenes, even things like their roadmap like that, and compared to a lot of other games that, for example, I'm still waiting on things from Flowtopia. They dropped a trailer and that's it for a year and a half. And like, we're not going to talk anymore, answer anything like radio silence. And I'm so happy that Sunblink is not like that. So yes, that leads to disappointment, but also I think that seeing behind the hood of a smaller studio, and they say, hey, we want to do this, hey, it does not work because we actually decided to make it look cooler for you guys, and we need more time for that. And telling, hey, it's not like that we're not willing to fix the bugs, is that our thing? It's stuck with Switch for months and we cannot do anything and things like that. So I totally understand that people are upset and they understand it too, and we're just going to have to trust them that they will eventually make the best game for us. And seeing everything they've done so far, we can just trust that because they have done in the past. And so I'm totally fully behind them as like, sure, take as much time as you need to make something really cool, and we'll all enjoy it then. And I'm sure that in the meantime we'll have super cool new things. Like this Sunday a new event is coming. Well, I think that's the one that will give you the 50th anniversary things from Hello Kitty, but it's so new, like scientific thingies. People said it looks like Trekkie. Totally new event. We're really looking forward to this, and so I'm really happy about how Sunblink is communicating with us, even if that means that we will end up with some disappointment sometimes, but that's how it goes with the game developers, and at least they're talking about us and not just, you know what? They could just do nothing and just pass the date and not say anything, like, but you guys said by the end of the year, and not say anything like other games do actually. But no, I think that the fact they are very transparent is a good thing. Anyways, if you watched the end of this video, why, first of all, thank you so much. And there's been tons of other things discussed in the Discord about other news, and I usually put a playlist with all the game news here, so I highly encourage you to go look at that to make yourself an idea how the devs are really communicating with us on many different issues and trying to make the game better based on our feedback. And so remember, everybody can play cozy. Bye bye!